the meeting of the Oxford Historic Preservation Commission to order. Do we have folks that are still to join us? Do you know, Kate?
I don't think so. No one was planning to join virtually.
Good. Welcome to our guests and visitors and to our commissioners. We're glad to have everyone here today. We will begin the meeting by approving the agenda that everybody has had an opportunity to pick up and all of us got earlier. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is the approval of the minutes from our June 20th, 2022 meeting. We've received those minutes. Are there any comments about the minutes or corrections or additions to those minutes as presented to us? If not, is there a motion that we approve the minutes from June 20?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item on the agenda are administrative approvals. There have been two, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions about those. No need for action on either. Does anybody have any question or comment about either of those? If not, we'll move into the public hearings. The first case is number 692, Ward and Polly Hubble. Is that correct? Welcome, Mr. and Ms. Hubble. The Hubbles are here seeking a certificate of appropriateness to build a new house at 1005 South 9th Street. Kate, will you present it for us, please?
Sure. Okay, so as Jack stated, the property in question is 1005 South 9th Street. The applicant requests approval to build on two lots in what's the Cedar Bend subdivision. They're newly addressed at 1005 South 9th Street. The property is zoned traditional suburban residential and is located in the South Lamar Historic District. I went ahead and put that site plan up for you guys, so you can see that the plan consists of a new single-family residence and another single-family home, which may function as a guest house, and they'll be connected by a covered deck, and there's also a covered carport and a pool or water feature planned. So the Oxford Design Guidelines address new construction and note that new buildings are evaluated for compatibility based on setback and lot coverage, orientation, scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, height, materials, color, roof shape, details and ornamentation, and landscape features. The proposed main house fronts South 9th Street, while the guest house will front Cleveland Avenue. So you guys can see on the plan, the larger house at the top is the main house and the smaller house is the guest house. The proposed houses will meet the lot coverage and build-to requirements of the Land Development Code, section 5843. The Land Development Code requires for orientation that in all lots with frontage on existing streets, buildings shall be oriented to those streets. This orientation applies to buildings on the front perimeter of the lot. The elevation that fronts Cleveland Avenue features a front massing, which is the proposed garage, with the front entry set back about 18 feet from the front line of the building. The change in massing and roof line from that main gable form of the guest house, along with the recessed entry, mean that elevation fronting Cleveland Avenue does not, in staff's opinion, read as the front of the building. The commission should consider if that proposed orientation is appropriate. In terms of scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, and height, the proposed new buildings meet those recommendations of the Oxford Design Guidelines. In terms of materials and color, the exterior materials for both buildings include smooth, horizontal fiber cement siding, stone veneer, architectural shingle, metal roofing for the bays and dormers, and wood or aluminum clad windows, all recommended materials in the design guidelines. The only kind of small outlier in material proposed is the stone veneer. The guidelines do include stone as a possible material type and note that stone cladding such as limestone, granite, and marble should be used. Stone veneers, cast stone, and terracotta are acceptable substitutes. Precast concrete resembling stone may be used with care. And that stone pieces should be primarily rectangular and horizontally oriented and arranged in a Flemish or stretcher bond pattern. So that's another thing for you, the commission, to determine if the stone is appropriate in this application. We do have a couple of examples of that have used stone in the historic district, but it's not a prevalent material type. In terms of roof shape, details, and ornamentation, the proposed roof shapes are compatible with the general district and the roof shapes of neighboring buildings, and those roof shapes as well as the materials meet the recommendations of the design guidelines. The proposed ornamentation takes cues from existing buildings in the district and meets the recommendations of the design guidelines. In terms of the landscape features, the proposed plan includes that covered walkway that I mentioned earlier that will connect the main and guest house, as well as a pool. The walkway is simple in design and is consistent with the architecture of the two proposed buildings on the site. And due to its location, the pool will be screened by this walkway area and will not be visible from the street. So staff, we believe that the bulk of this proposal meets the Oxford Design Guidelines and the Land Development Code. The two main items that seem to require discussion by the commission are the appropriateness of the proposed stone veneer and also the elevation of the guest house, which faces Cleveland Avenue, and if that satisfies as an architectural front of the building, since it will front Cleveland. Staff recommends approval of the COA with the commission's recommendations regarding those two elements, and with the condition that final details of the following items are delegated to staff approval: that the new windows will be true or simulated divided light as recommended by the Oxford Design Guidelines. It's likely they were planning that anyway, they're just not that far along in the design process, so we'll see the window schedule when those construction plans come in. And secondly, that items that do not have a material specified on the proposed plans may be approved by staff with the construction set, provided they're appropriate for the site and the historic district. So in the site plan, there are a couple of retaining walls and that kind of thing that obviously are not finalized at this stage, so we'd like you guys to delegate staff approval of those so that the applicant won't have to return. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about the staff report. Francis Zook is here, who is the applicant's architect, and we can go to any page in the report you guys want if there's anything we need to look at.
Kate, would you elaborate a little bit on the staff's, I don't know if it's concern, but note about the view from Cleveland
Sure.
of the guest house? I saw that it is something of consideration, but help us understand what your
Sure, I'm going to go to these
thinking is.
nice views that Francis provided, since they, I think, are illustrate it pretty well. So you can see this is the elevation that's going to front Cleveland. So you have the primary, I guess, gable roof form, and then the shed roof area is what's going to front Cleveland, and then that door right there is the front entry. So it is a guest house, so I can understand, you know, that is the rear of the guest house, but it's going to front Cleveland.
And give us,
To them, it may function like a guest house, but it's on its own individual lot, so it's a principal structure.
yeah. Tell us a little bit more about how that'll be screened from both Ninth and Cleveland, the guest house. Is there landscaping? What is?
I think perhaps Francis should come up and answer.
Yeah, sure. Please introduce yourself just for the record, please.
Can you put that elevation on there, the direct elevation?
Yeah, there's the one that, hi, I'm Frances Zook, representing the Holes tonight.
It's a very nice set of plans.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. Can you ask your question again, if you don't mind?
Yeah, we're looking at the view from Cleveland, as
Yes.
I understand the plans. Are there intentions to screen that in some way from from view from Cleveland? Visually screen it?
Well, not the door itself, because the door faces the street, and the steps show entry there, because they do have parking for guests in that garage right there in the front. We wanted to put the garage on the front of the house so that if it was on the side, we'd have to look at a garage door, and I just thought it would be more pleasing to have the garage on the front with a window. And then access to the front door from there. There is access from the back, obviously, for the Hubble family, but if they have guests, they can also access from Cleveland Street.
Thank you. Please stay here, and I'm sure there'll be other questions. So the garage door, a window is a part of the garage door, of the retractable garage door, is that what I'm?
The garage door is actually on the side, faces towards the backyard.
Maybe it would be good if we started with the front elevation
Of the guest house?
of the house.
The main house?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And I think we could go through each of these, and if there are questions from the commissioners, we can maybe ask them as we're looking at.
So this is the view from 9th Street here.
And the front door is a series of French doors?
It's a French door with fixed side glass as a pair. Yes.
You know, one of the items that the staff has asked us to consider is the stone work and appropriateness in a historic district. And I would think, for me, part of that would be the amount of stonework as well.
Do you have a photograph of what the stonework would look like?
In my packet, I have this here, but it's in the packet of just some examples. The exact stone, we don't know yet, because we don't know what can be supplied, just because the difficulty of supply right now. But something in that flavor, just like a Tennessee fieldstone. Would be preferred, just as a veneer in certain areas.
I know it varies from side to side, but my memory, I'm not looking at the illustration here, but that front of the house is predominantly stone. Is that a correct statement?
It's a combination of stone and the siding. So on the right side, that gable is stone, and on the left side, it's mostly stone, and then the bay is siding.
I would go ahead and say that I like the stone. I'm seeing, with some new structures in town in the historic district, a little bit of monotony with the farmhouse style and the white, just white, and I think it's a pleasant break from that.
And the house will probably be some sort of neutral color, not white.
Right.
Something that blends nicely with that stone once it's chosen. They just haven't gotten that far yet.
Any comment from any commissioner regarding the stonework? Is there an illustration that shows the entire two lots with the primary house and the guest house available?
There is on the
Not a facade.
in the middle.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Sorry.
So the third lot that they also own is, we call it Lot 8. That will be kept as natural to that corner.
And that's the corner lot?
It's not quite the corner. There's a section, yeah, a stormwater detention area to the right of that lot that faces Cleveland. But this is roughly the corner of 9th and Cleveland.
There's not another buildable area, right?
Right.
No, there won't be another house in that corner.
No.
That's it, right there.
Yes.
As part of this application though, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that they could, the lot remains, so if at some point in the future, they decided to sell the lot, there could be a house constructed there. It may not be their intent, but.
As of right now, it's not their intent.
You know, it's very attractive. I've just got to make the observation that not anything wrong with this, but this is an observation. There's a lot of campus. I mean, that's a lot of structures in a historic district.
Are you saying the connectors, what's making them?
No, I mean, you know, it's all appropriate. It's just a lot. Any comments, questions from here? Any questions about the elevation of the guest house? The side that faces Cleveland? No?
Well, after reading their staff comments, if you had any consideration of any changes to that, or that's it? Just curious.
Well,
On that garage elevation only.
one reason we wanted the garage there, I told you, so that but also just with retaining walls, to make sure the drainage is properly done, which we've been working on. It's a convenient way to get in and out of the house without having to go all the way to the back.
Yes, that part I get. I'm
Okay.
not saying, I'm not asking about moving the garage, I'm simply asking about any manipulation of that elevation after, is that consideration come to you at all, or you?
Well, I like the way that it lays out the house itself so that they can have separate bedrooms or spaces. And the porch, it offers a nice porch for the house.
Yeah.
So I would prefer that we keep the floor plan as it is and that elevation.
And I'm really not referring to the floor plan whatsoever,
Okay.
just the elevation.
Yeah.
Only the picture in your mind of that as you face it from the street.
What is the square footage of the main house and the guest house? It probably was in the documents, I just didn't find it.
3,900 square feet for the main, and that's main floor and a small second floor, and then roughly 900 for the guest house. And that's conditioned space.
Well, if there are no other questions or comments, is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion to approve the COA. Is there a second?
Second.
Staff conditions, or without staff conditions?
What were the staff conditions you were,
Materials.
the materials?
Yeah, materials delegated to staff with the construction set.
That's fine, yes.
The motion has been made with the acknowledgement of staff requirements for approval of certain materials. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there additional discussion? If not, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The COA is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is case 694, no, I'm sorry, is 693. Roland and Ann Chancellor Robertson, changing an earlier approved COA dealing with roofing materials.
I need to recuse myself.
Virginia recuses herself. Great picture of the house.
That was the week of the parade.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's just right. Kate?
Okay, sorry, I had to let her leave the room by rules. The applicant requests approval to change the previously approved roof material for the new carport and pool pavilion buildings that were approved in COA case number 650. You can see a little, the picture shows what we can see from North Lamar of one of those outbuildings. The applicant's architect intended, well, and the applicant proposed previously to roof the buildings with the same kind of like diamond pattern asphalt shingle that you can see on the main house. It appears that that material is no longer made in that shape. So the applicant now proposes to roof those outbuildings with the same metal that's used on the existing wraparound porch. The reason I brought this to the commission rather than approving it administratively is we've had some ups and downs with metal roofing over the years, depending on how, we've had some not so great metal roofs installed, but it is a material that's used occasionally in the historic district, and they are proposing to match metal roofing that is on site. So staff does believe that it's an appropriate use of metal roof material, and we're recommending approval of the COA. And Jonathan Maddox is here for the architect if you guys have questions for him.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
It appears to be the kind of situation that if it is not the metal that's already on the wraparound porch, you'd be introducing yet a third roofing material, which would be the least best option.
I would say in addition to the shape not being available, that particular color is also not available. So there isn't even an alternate shape of shingle from GAF, which is one of the most major manufacturers, in a compatible color. So rather than end up with a totally different shingle that looks like a mist, we thought we would stay with the vocabulary that already exists. And metal roofing is often used on secondary forms and secondary buildings, so we think it's an appropriate choice.
I'm curious, is there, what's the setback on property lines? I'm assuming this is
The setback in the overlay district is determined by planning, and it's adjacent structures driven.
Jonathan, this is probably a dumb question, but I'm assuming that is a no visible fastener, so standing seam.
Yes.
Metal roof as opposed to a visible fastener.
It is a true standing seam, snap seamed, no visible fasteners. And it's, it's a dark color, so it kind of recedes.
Other questions?
I think it's the only thing that makes sense, the symmetry of it, It's a shame they don't make the shingles like that.
It's a real shame, yeah.
I know.
Because it's a nice shingle.
It seems very straightforward. If there are no questions or comments, is there a motion that we approve COA 693?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The COA is approved. Thank you, Jonathan. And now we have two complimentary reviews. I think complimentary reviews are a good idea, so particularly on more complex issues, so.
Yeah, we usually try to encourage people to come in on a complimentary if it's a pretty large project. Although this one is pretty straightforward, we were just a little past the advertising deadline, and they wanted to go ahead and get in front of you guys for some feedback. So this is a complimentary review for 611 North Lamar Boulevard. The applicant seeks feedback on plans to enclose a portion of the existing rear deck addition to create more interior space. They're not proposing any change to the actual footprint of what's built on the site now. They're simply enclosing a portion of that decking to create a larger rear addition. And, you know, it's an addition on an existing addition, right? So that's already an addition on the rear of the house that this is attached to. And none of the changes are going to be visible from North Lamar. So staff does not have any concerns with the plan. And the Cutcliffes are here if anyone has questions for them.
Could we see the photographs of the house? Please.
Yes, so here's the existing rear deck addition. We're expanding that. It'll be with the same, materials to match. So.
Is this coming to the commission because it's an addition to an addition rather than an administrative approval? It just looks so straightforward and...
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I hadn't considered doing it administratively because normally we just bring additions to the commission. But we do have the ability to administratively approve additions in the ordinance. So that's a great point.
And if we get feedback.
If
from
we
the
get feedback from you that there are no issues, then
In this particular instance, then we can move forward with
yeah.
an administrative approval.
I agree with Jack. It looks pretty straightforward. I would think Kate could.
Great.
It retains the character of the house, even though it's a change, so it's nice.
Noted. We will do that.
Yeah, we're not voting, so anybody that has a comment, particularly a negative comment, now would be the time. I think it's very straightforward and makes sense to me. So, Mr. and Ms. Samuels, have you heard what you had hoped to hear?
Josh Samuels is their contractor, so it's the Cutcliffe family that's making the...
Are you happy with what you heard? Okay. Well, thank you for coming, and we appreciate the complimentary opportunity. Next complimentary review is for a proposed new construction at 1401 Buchanan. This is a property that we've dealt with on an ongoing basis for several years. Kate?
Yes. If you guys will recall, this is where the pink house on 1401 Buchanan used to sit. We've seen several iterations of plans. I listed those all, and they were linked in the case file if you wanted to go back and see. And perhaps before the actual vote on this property, I would advise maybe looking over those old reports and seeing what staff recommended in terms of design for the properties on the lot. The commission granted approval for the existing non-contributing house on the lot to be demolished in April of 2021. And since then, it's been landscaped and fenced. The proposed design features a first and small second floor to be built at street level, while you guys know that lot drops dramatically. And so there'll just be crawl space underneath that second floor, with two front gables set forward of the main massing of the house. The left gable shades the proposed front entry, while the right gable contains the proposed garage. The Oxford Design Guidelines state that compatibility of a new structure in the historic district is achieved through attention to setback and lot coverage, orientation, scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, height, materials, color, roof shape, details and ornamentation, and landscape features. I'm going to let the applicant come forward. Hi. Is there anything you'd like to say about the house?
Not really, because of the...
Will you state your name for us? Thank you.
Bruce Crane, so I'm the designer of the house. And because of the contour of the lot, unfortunately, we're trying to get the house with the garage, and it's just not conducive to a side-load garage. So what we've tried to do is recreate a Craftsman-style look and get the garage on the front of the house and do minimum retaining walls and grading, and then on the back, you know, we'll just have crawl space up underneath the house.
A much better design than we saw the last time someone came forward for this property.
You know, the Craftsman style is indicative of lots of porches along the front. So on the left-hand side, we have a front porch. On the right-hand side, we tried to recess the garage door back enough so that it gives the appearance of a garage door or a porch in front of the garage door.
So that garage is pushed back?
That garage is recessed back. Yeah.
Okay, because it looks flat. My first reaction, I think this is an improved design, but for these complimentary reviews, I like to anticipate any complaints like a neighbor might have or something
Sure,
like that.
absolutely.
So when
Well,
I
and I
first saw,
appreciate you guys taking the time to review this as well.
my first reaction was that's a big garage, in comparison to the house part. But
Right.
if it's set back, I think that.
It would have been helpful if we had had perspectives that weren't flat.
Agreed.
Because the ridge of the highest part of the house, when you look at the front facade, okay, can we see it?
Sorry, what is the garage setback from?
So from the street, the garage door is about 27 feet back. The front porch from the back of curb is close to 17 feet back. So there's 7 or 8 feet difference between the two.
Is that 3 different distances from the curb that we're looking at?
That's correct. The one on the left, which is the front porch, is closest. It's about 17 feet. And then the garage door is close to 23, 24. And then beyond that, which is French doors to a dining room that is a breakout space onto a courtyard, is probably, I'm going to say, 28 to 30.
Have y'all thought about the driveway itself? Is that just going to be a slab of concrete? Or?
I'm afraid so. Yeah. It's.
Have y'all thought about those? I think we've seen these before. The slabs that have grass growing through them.
It certainly is a possibility where it's a 2x2 slab of concrete with maybe 6 or 8 inches
right,
to soften the look.
You actually mow the driveway. I'm sorry?
Permeable paper.
Yeah, that might help with the kind of,
Right.
of the front.
Looking at different views in the documents, the height of that ridge that we're looking at here, if I read it correctly, is 27 feet from the ground level?
From finished grade up, yes.
I wonder how that compares to
So
neighbors.
the house to the left, it's probably, I'm going to say, maybe 2 feet taller than that. And then, but as you go further down Buchanan, there's houses on the right that are taller than that. And then across the street, because the street elevation and the lot elevations, there's a house across the street, I think it's 1585, that's probably maybe 15 to 18 feet taller than our tallest ridge, just because of the grade of the street and the contours of the lots.
Bruce, can you talk about the siding of the house itself? Is it, because we talked about this a moment ago, the front build-to line is based on the adjacent properties. I don't think that's information that we've seen yet. Are you going back?
So to the left, if my measurements were correct today, on average, we're probably 30 feet from back of curb to the house on the left, and then on the right, there are 2 that are 40 feet, and then there's some further on down Buchanan that are as close as 25, which is closer to what we are. So
in this instance, we'll look at the house to the left and the house that's to
That's correct. So the one to the left, I believe, is 34 feet to the front porch or the front wall of the house. And then to the right is, actually, the one to the right is an older house. It's 49 feet from the curb. And then ours would be 23, 24 to the garage door.
So you'll be closer.
So we will be closer than the one on the left and the right, but the house across the street, close, it would be somewhat indicative of where we're gonna be. There's a darker house on, that's like, again, 1580 Buchanan.
Which may be problematic. I mean, it needs to be in line with the homes we say.
Adjacent to,
Yeah, no closer to and not farther back. So we give you a bit of a range. that you
Gotcha.
can work within.
so it may be that, because of this meeting, we end up pushing the house back to that 30 feet.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
there any
sounds
way to, looks like the garage door is like, boom, it's this announcement that there's a garage there. As opposed to that, is there any way to disguise that?
Well,
It's just I'm not crazy about the garage facing the street. Looks great in the subdivision, I'm not so sure it looks great in downtown Oxford. Like that, that's
I know
a
Clopay
personal
makes,
opinion, but maybe not every house needs a garage. You know, it just, it's too much garage.
and, thinking about it, Clopay makes a door that looks like a carriage style door that swings open. Also, it may be that a carport is more appropriate in this environment versus a closed-in garage. Certainly, that's the reason I'm here, is to get your feedback and not have to reinvent the wheel later on down the road.
I mean, I agree with Joel completely. I think this looks like a suburban house and not necessarily something that's in downtown Oxford. I think a carport would be maybe more appropriate with just that gable end being open, or even if there's another way or another garage door to break them down into two doors or something. But right now, that's really all I see is that garage door. And I don't know, if you drove down that street, I think is that the only garage door on that street? I'm not sure.
There's some ranch burgers that have that,
Yeah.
it's kind of,
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't know that it does.
Not necessarily on that street, I don't know, but other streets
Yeah.
right near there's some with, carports that face, generally they're carports. that
I was gonna say,
face
there's
the
a lot of
street.
carports, I
They're
think.
usually single, they're kind of way over to the side, they're de-emphasized. A lot of times they're back, but this is more like in your face to me.
It's the most dominant thing on the face of the house.
Yeah. I think because that gable end is the largest feature of the front elevation.
So that's a note.
Okay.
I noticed it, if I remember correctly, 10 feet property line on either side as this is laid out.
That's correct. Yeah, I think right now the property setback on the side is 10 on the sides, 20 on the rear, and we're certainly within those. I think we're 11 on either side, and then we're close to the 20 on the back.
And Ben, is 10 the zoning reg?
It'll be the front that we have to work out.
Yeah. So it may be that we take another bedroom up and then push the house further back to squeeze it to get that 30 feet, I'd like to think that we could get 30 feet to the front of the house versus the porch. I don't know, if the house to the left is 30, to the front porch, if we have to be exactly 30, or, can we get 29 or 28?
We can evaluate it.
Okay.
We can evaluate where the original home was too.
Okay.
And it sounds like you've got space behind the footprint that you're suggesting to push the house back.
No, so right now we're on the 20-foot setback on the rear, so what would end up happening in the redesign, we would shorten the house by
Okay.
8 feet. And whatever we have to do to meet that, we'll do.
And when you guys come back, when the previous applications were put in, we requested, either like we call it a massing study, but something showing the house in relation to the height of the two neighbors. So if you can include that with your
Okay.
application, that would be appreciated, I think, by the commission.
Yeah, I think the lot to the right is pretty grown over. I don't even know that you could see the house. Certainly the one to the left, we can, we can get some scale there.
Yeah, just some information on
Sure.
the height in relation to the other two.
No, that's fine.
Are you showing any parking in the front of the house other than the driveway?
I don't recall, one time I showed a circular drive. I don't recall if I took that out or not. I did take that out. So no, we're showing parking just in front of the garage doors.
Yeah, leave that one up just for a second. I think it kind of helps us see the distance between the
Yeah, so there's,
house and the sidewalk.
there would be room to, of course, 2 cars in the garage, and then you could easily put 2 cars in front of the garage door.
And what we're suggesting here is, this is what, 19 feet roughly?
So it's 19 to the front porch columns, and then 24 to the garage door
So,
from back of curb.
you're looking at probably another, 11 feet.
Back.
Would have to come back.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to sort of see a comparative drawing of this house and the 2 neighbors.
Okay.
I'd like to see where the original house was sited too.
Yeah, I'm not privy to that information. That may be something that,
I think
go
your
back
client
and,
has it.
huh?
Your client should have that.
Yeah, I don't know who did the demolition, but I would think that we might could find those demolition drawings.
Yeah.
Any other comments in this courtesy review? Do you have?
So
do
just
you have
a
questions of
consensus,
us?
I'm sorry.
I was just giving you the opportunity to ask us questions.
From a consensus standpoint, did y'all rather see a carport there versus a garage door? Would that be more appealing to y'all? And I think you had mentioned possibly even opening that gable to soften that, so.
Sounds like it, yes.
I think
Okay.
just something to take the focus off away from the garage.
Okay. Yeah, the downside to that is, had you rather see a garage door or the back of a Suburban? So I don't know what the answer to
Probably
that is.
neither one.
Sorry, say.
Yeah, I
One
get it.
opinion, I don't much, but probably neither one.
Okay,
Well, thank you for coming.
absolutely, yeah, thanks again for your time. All right, see you.
Staff update.
Ben's gonna do the staff update, but everyone, please remember the link I sent you to our, exciting training with the Department of Arts and History. And that is generously sponsored by Howard and Associates and Develop Design Studio. We will feed you lunch if you come. So, I can send you guys the link again. Some of you have already signed up.
What's the date again?
23rd.
23rd. You sent me an email about it, so. if
Right
you wanna
on.
just send it-
23rd of this month or is it August?
Sorry, August 23rd.
So we've got a couple announcements. Most importantly, I want to make you all aware that tonight is Lance's last meeting on the commission. He's been with us for, we were talking about this earlier, it's been about 7 years, I think it is now. So he's been with us for a long time, and like I told him earlier, we understand and we appreciate the time and dedication that it takes to be on this, the thoughtfulness and, that y'all put into this as commissioners. And so we certainly appreciate you and all the efforts that you've made over the years. And,
appreciate that.
So thank you.
Ben,
Thank you.
Kate, I appreciate everything y'all did. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, so it's July, and we look every year for officers, you know, chairman. We have a chairman who's doing great. I was commenting to Kate about how well you are in your stride right now, Jack. And so you may choose to continue on as the chairman of this commission, but nonetheless, if there's anybody that wishes to, you know, or is interested in being chairman or vice chair, if Jack goes out of town or has to recuse himself, then please let us know. We'll look to the August meeting for nominations and elections to those roles. So,
And if any commissioner would like to be chair, I hope they will stand for the office. It's a democracy.
Joel's raising his hand over here. I saw him. Anyway, that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, is there a motion that we adjourn?
I make the motion, we adjourn.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done.
And a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Perfect timing.